Good morning, everybody. Happy, what day is today? Wednesday on the morning show. Spencer, JC, Steve, Alfonso. Got a lot going on today. We got Frank Cappelleri on the show, the founder of CappThesis. He'll be on at a little after 9. Kenny Glick will be joining us. Mary Thwaites will be joining us. You are joining us. So let's go. Drop me a like. Tell your friends. Wake your neighbors, your siblings, your aunts, your uncles, whomever you need to tell that we're doing this right now. It's happening. Let's go.
Was that the same one as yesterday?
What do you think about it? You like it?
It's growing on me a little bit. It's not as good as the original, though.
It's not as hip hop as it needs to be. I think it needs to be more hip hop.
We need more hip hop.
You know what I mean? I feel like it's like we're playing like some kind of video game or something, like Tomb Raider or something like that. Like,
Yeah,
it
it does have like it's got like an old PlayStation game feel to it.
Totally, 100%, 100%. Me and Steve Strazza agreeing way too much to kick off this morning. How are you, ladies and gentlemen? Steve Strazza, 3 croquetas in so far this morning. Spencer Israel hasn't eaten in a week. And here we are.
Hey, it's NVIDIA Day, isn't it?
Is it?
Yeah.
Is that a thing? What does NVIDIA Day mean?
It's not a thing.
Oh.
But,
why did you say that?
NVIDIA kept some China customers in the dark about new U.S. chip clampdown. Wow.
The big headline was after the close yesterday, right? They had a filing. They talked about the implications of tariffs on the business. It's going to cost them about $5.5 billion in Q1, not like in total. That's just one quarter.
This is like an intra-quarter earnings report from them.
Yeah, sort of. And also they're off cycle, so they're not going to report for like a month anyway. So you know.
ASML also, you want to read out that news? Because this was the one that tipped us off and made it overwhelmingly clear back then that semiconductors were in a bear market. Right?
You're right. And ASML had earnings this morning, and it was mixed. The top line was not good. The bottom line was a little better. And
down 4%.
Yeah, that is true.
Semiconductors still under pressure.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing new there, right?
That's right.
Go ahead.
All right. State of the markets.
Shall we? All right, ladies and gentlemen, we've got the Dow futures doing nothing this morning. Flat 40,500 and change. We got the S&P 500 futures on the other hand, down almost 0.75%. That's close to 40 handles, just under 5,400 for the S&Ps. We've got the NASDAQ leading the way to the downside, 1.4%, just under 18,700, 262 to the downside for the NASDAQ. 30-year bond futures down slightly, down 0.25% on the 30-year, about 114.5. We got crude oil up a full percent, 62 this morning. Copper down 1%, just under 460. We got gold hitting new all-time highs, 2.5% to the upside, 33.25. How about that for gold? Silver also up 2.25%, above 33, with the VIX up slightly this morning at 31.5. Over in funny money land, you got Bitcoin at 84,000, up 0.5% this morning. Ethereum basically flat, just under 1,600. You've got Solana flat this morning, 126 and change, with the total crypto market cap, Mr. Spencer Israel, at 2.61 trillion. 2.61 trillion. How do we feel about this morning's futures?
You usually ask me what stands out.
Mm-hmm.
It's gold. It's precious metals.
Yeah.
Still, right?
Yep. Slide 2, please.
I don't know what it was 2 weeks ago where I came on here and I said, you know, JC, you keep saying gold all-time highs, and that's like the only thing. I think back then the copper was at a new all-time high too. That didn't really last, but it's still out here doing it. Remains the case. There's gold and there's everything else right now. You got a massive breakout in the GDX.
Yeah.
Huge breakout. See the breakaway gap there? It's beautiful breakout. See the GDX? Look at that 5-year base.
So GDX being the gold mining stocks.
Yeah.
GLD or gold being the futures markets. So, you know, what's really interesting about the gold mining stocks here, let me throw this up while we're on the subject. So here's GDX. So Spencer, if you could throw this one up just to give some people some perspective with gold making new all-time highs. Look at this hot piece of garbage. These are companies that dig holes in the ground looking for rocks. 9 times out of 10, they're lying to you, and there aren't any rocks down there at all. So throw that up. Slide 3. So with gold making new all-time highs, so flip back and forth just so you can see the difference. Look at gold making new all-time highs, exceeding those 2011 highs a long time ago and continuing higher. So now look at gold miners, still nowhere near, I shouldn't say nowhere near, but still not at the former cycle highs, which, I mean, that's a target, right? That's the target. If you want to know how high gold miners can go, they're probably going to go a lot higher than that, but next stop is those former highs. How do you feel about that, Strazza? Strazza's on mute. Somebody muted Strazza.
No, I like it. I'm on board with all that. And I also think, you know, talking about vehicles to play a precious metals bull market, I think it's finally silver's time. It's been wrong a couple times on this, thinking, oh, silver, and it just hasn't gone. You finally got like the shakeout 2 weeks ago, JC. Like silver got hit with everything else. You got this big lower shadow, right? It hit its lowest level since September of last year, right? So big shake, and now launching higher back above any, you know, important intermediate or short-term VWAPs. So I think silver's about to break out.
Yeah, you could throw up the new slide 4 here, Spencer. I mean, this is the silver. This is the retest that Strazza's talking about.
It got slammed and just took it right back. Yeah, look at that. Yep.
You know, there's an interesting series of kickbacks taking place. You saw it in the S&P 500. You saw it in the NASDAQ. You saw it in the Dow. Spencer, if you wouldn't mind, can you throw up that German DAX, slide 7? Tell me this doesn't look exactly like silver. Shout out German DAX, same exact thing, breaking out above that base and then successfully retesting it. I mean, it seems to be a big theme across the intermarket landscape, no?
Big wicks.
Well, not just the big wicks, but just a retest of the former highs. You saw it in silver. I mean, you were just talking about in silver right now. You saw it in the S&P, the Dow, the NASDAQ. You're seeing it in the German DAX. Like, that's like a big theme. Retests of former cycle highs. And then, you know, if you're looking for relative strength, look for some of the areas that did not retest it. You know, here's looking at you, financials. Here's looking at you, industrials. You know, further down the list of the types of areas that retested those former highs, like technology, is communications. Can you throw up that Netflix chart, slide 9? I don't know if you guys realize this, but yesterday, Netflix closed the day at the highest levels in history.
So good.
To the S&P 500. Something?
The relative strength here continues to be just off the charts. When you look at a lot of these mega growth stocks, JC, you could draw a lot of broken uptrend lines, right, from the cycle lows, and a lot of them right now. Mags, the index too. Not Netflix. Netflix digging in, holding trend, really no damage at all to this chart. The relative trend is just a monster. It's great. It's great to see. You know, another one that reminds me of this? Palantir is the same way. Palantir is doing the same thing. The relative strength has gone nowhere. The leadership there, it's just mind-blowing, really.
So I wouldn't like SPLTR, and not because you like Peter Thiel or because you're a hardcore righty, but just for prices. Is that what it is?
Listen, I would have had Palantir selling off just as hard as the rest of them, right?
Yeah.
And it hasn't. So it rallied the hardest, the whole bull market, right? And now whatever this is, if it's just a corrective wave or it's the beginning of a new bear market, guess what? Palantir is still the leader. So it's pretty cool. Good for them.
Yeah, but it's still stuck in this range. You like it from the long side here? No.
It took the VWAP back. Look, we already sold a double in it. We got in Friday, flipped a quick double, and now it's just a ticket.
Steve, is Palantir on the list of things you're going to talk about on Friday?
Yeah, I think we got to.
Probably.
Yeah. No,
Right.
it
Cool.
definitely.
If you don't know what I'm talking about, which you may not, Friday is Good Friday. It's a market holiday. We're not doing a show on a Friday, but we are doing another live stream with Strazza, and I'll be there as well, but mostly Strazza, kind of talking through all the recent trades that he's made from the short side on the downturn, and then now long side on the upswing. And he's really been crushing it. So we're doing this live event. I'm dropping the link in chat right now. There it is. We'll see you guys there Friday, 10:30.
I'm excited. I've really
pin it
been
to the chat.
enjoying going live after the morning show.
Yeah.
No, and I like the going live on a day off. You know, gives us an opportunity to take a step back. Crypto markets are trading because they're not. I guess they're not Christian crypto markets, right?
No.
When the
don't care.
markets, no, I think that's really nice. That's great. I love a good weekday, but markets close and you could be at your desk and you don't have all the craziness going on. I think when I was doing these live streams and the market was up 5%, down 5%, I would get off. I would finish them. I'd be like literally out of breath.
Fast market.
Things are moving fast out there.
Can we throw up that Tesla chart? Anybody thinks these guys are going to squeeze them? Slide 9. This thing's kind of a mess here short term. Looks like we're probably going to see a resolution here at some point. We're still below that overhead supply from 23. It still has some work to do. But the scoop and score, I think is in play, at least from a monitoring standpoint. Strazza, how do you feel about that?
I'm good with it. Yep.
Yeah.
This is one of those that should bounce real well, in my opinion. I like the Mag 7s for the bounce. I really do. I don't think you have to overcomplicate it.
Does this behave like the other Mag 7s though?
No. But it has its time. It catches that Mag 7 rotation just like the rest of them. But no, it probably looks the least like the Mag 7 index of any of them.
Yeah.
Look, there's a lot of levels in the big growth stocks right now. You can find some big levels, some very logical places to define your risk for a trade.
Throw up slide 5 there, Spencer, just to further reiterate what's been happening in Forex markets. You're seeing new highs. We talked about the new highs in Euro, new highs in Swissy, new highs in Kiwi. Look at British pound sterling making new 6-month highs, highest level since the 1st of October. You know, man, just broadening and broadening participation. The fact that we have Steve Strazza out here, chief market strategist of All-Star Charts, calling out the Swedish krona. Calling out the Swedish krona live on the morning show. Didn't see that coming. Did not have that on my bingo card. I love how much you love the Swedish krona.
It looks so good right now.
I didn't even know you knew where Sweden was.
That's a great base. No, I know where it is.
Sweden, man. Dude, they have these they got these meatballs, right? Swedish meatballs. Have you ever had these things?
I'm not a fan. I don't want sweet in my meatball.
Okay? Yeah, stop being so Italian for 2 fucking seconds and just open your minds to other types of cultures. Seriously, dude.
Sweet meatballs. What is that?
It's really not so much. Yeah, but they have the lingonberry. They do like this lingonberry jam. Whoo, it is nice.
You can have it. You know who I haven't seen on TV?
Have it all the time. They're delicious. Like, you don't understand? It's not just the Italians that do the meatballs, right? There's all kinds of. You know, in fact, the Asians, they put little meatballs in the dumplings. That's essentially what it is. It's a little meatball, right?
Eat them with a little toothpick.
Yeah, you can eat it with a toothpick. Yeah, I get down with a toothpick or two. Hell yeah, you can clean your teeth afterwards, right?
Gary Gensler's is on TV. You think anybody's going to offer this guy a job?
Who's this guy? Did he play for the Mets?
No, not him. SEC. Played for the SEC for a while.
Not the Southeastern Conference.
No, not that SEC. The other one.
The other one. Got it.
Yep.
And how'd that work out for him? Nobody hates him. He definitely doesn't need bodyguards, right?
I mean, he's probably going to have to retire. He's still the former SEC chair, so good luck getting a job.
I mean, if you're the former chairman of the Securities and Exchange Commission, like, you got to be in high demand, you would think. No, not this guy?
No, somebody will hire him for sure.
All right.
And they had Novogratz on just before him, so that's interesting. And they had Pomp on yesterday. So
who's they?
So the Bitcoiners are doing the rounds, the networks.
Just random networks on television.
Yeah, random networks. Yeah.
Does one need to pay for basic cable television in order to access these types of channels and stations and TV shows? Or do you have to you watch it online?
I think you can watch them like on their apps. This stuff's probably free most places. I don't know. I watch on the YouTube TV.
Oh, the YouTube TV. I like YouTube TV, man.
I'm on it all day. I've been saying it for years, and it's so good. It's really good. They're dominating streaming.
Dude, I had the the NFL Sunday ticket like forever, like literally since I was a kid, since the 90s, and it sucked. Like, I mean, it was good. It was good because it's all you had, right? And they had a monopoly on the whole thing, but it sucked. And then I was watching the basketball games on NBA TV. I had the NBA package, and I was like, wow, this is way better than the NFL Sunday ticket, right? And then now that the NFL Sunday ticket is on YouTube TV, just like I had the NBA games, I'm like, wow, this is fantastic. It's so good.
Do you do the NBA pass also?
Yeah, I mean, I've had the NBA pass for years, but I had it on YouTube TV for at least 3-4 years probably.
It's great for college basketball too. I don't know how that works, but they have every college basketball game. Right? Spencer, you noticed that? Like, you never miss a Maryland
I don't
game.
have YouTube TV. I don't know.
You don't have YouTube TV, Spencer?
Get your streaming.
No. I'm like for whatever reason, I'm just very cheap when it comes to subscriptions. I try really hard to not have a million subscriptions. So
it's the right way to be. It gets out of hand fast.
It does get out of hand fast.
Yeah. So like I don't pay for a lot. I pay for Netflix, but I have the Netflix with commercials, right? With ads. Yeah. I'm that cheap. I'm that guy, right? So it's like $7 a month or whatever. I save like $2.
Spencer, do you use one of the subscription track that like
do I use it? Sorry.
Do you use one of those subscription tracking apps that helps you figure out if you're like paying twice?
They have some good ones.
Yeah, it's called Google Sheets. It's called Excel. I don't need a fancy.
They got AIs. They got bots that can
I don't need that. It's not like it's changing. I know what I pay for like 6 things. It's like Netflix, Costco, the gym, and a couple others. I don't know. New York Times, like 4 things. That's what I pay for. It's just like I don't know. So
Spencer, what else is happening this morning that we need to know about?
Oh, good question. Well, it is semis day, as Steve was saying. Nvidia and ASML are going to probably be the dominant headlines, and then if I look at my up movers this morning, it's a lot of metals, a lot of gold stocks this morning. We had United Airlines report this morning. We have their earnings calendar up. Can we bring that up on the deck here?
There's some sympathy selling in the semis too. Like it's not just those two. Look at Micron and AMD. They're down more than ASML.
Yeah, it's true.
AMD's down 7% pre-market.
We had United Airlines last night. That's interesting. I know Steve always likes Interactive Brokers. That was last night as well. Today, kind of a quiet earnings day. And then tomorrow, obviously, we'll get Netflix. That'll be the big one. And Taiwan Semi. But
nothing here for the rest of this week really interests me in the least.
Oh, interesting. Netflix interests me. Netflix came out. Netflix didn't come out. The Wall Street Journal came out yesterday and said that Netflix said internally that they're going to double their revenue by the end of the decade and get to $1 trillion market cap. That's what Netflix said internally. So
I believe them.
Pretty cool.
I got one. This one's been a darling, an all-star charts darling. This is if you want to throw up the news slide too there, Mr. Spencer Israel. This is a name that's near and dear to Strazza's heart. Strazza, you taking any of these penis pills? Or no? You taking any of these?
The hymns. So this is the Hard Mints company. Yeah. No, I'm not, but somebody thinks I should be because the amount of advertisements I get for Hard Mints and Blue Chews is just crazy.
Blue Chews. Wow.
Blue
you got all the nicknames for these things, huh? All right. And then so does anybody, speaking of retests of former cycle highs, that seems to be a big theme here on the morning show today. Retests and S&Ps, and the NASDAQ, the Dow. How about hims and hers retesting that resistance? Am I crazy here, or is there something going on?
I like it. And this is exactly what I'm talking about with these growthy stocks. You got levels. If you're into taking shots, you could do it responsibly. You got some big levels here. So, yeah, what is it, 24? Go for it. It's been one of the strongest stocks over the course of the past 2 years.
Not a bad risk reward. Momentum, not remaining away from oversold conditions on both a daily and weekly time frame. How's that short interest? Pretty freaking high, right?
Let's see.
Yeah, that short interest, I'm pretty sure, is off the charts.
It always was.
I'll tell you guys.
57. I'm seeing 30%. 3 days. Woo.
I'm seeing
yeah, about 30% and almost 3 days to cover is what I'm seeing. I like that. You know who doesn't have a high short interest anymore?
32%, 3 days to cover.
I'm
Yeah,
seeing
there you
30.
go.
It's all the same.
Who does not have a high short interest anymore?
GameStop.
That's
Yeah.
interesting.
That's a stock that, like, it's a whole different ball game when it's got the high short interest. When it's not there, I don't know. Thinking about it, we might do a report on it. Ryan Cohen came out and made a huge insider buy last week. 10 million. He does this every now and then. He's pretty active.
GameStop short percent afloat is the same as AMC. They're like they're identical. So
didn't they make like a documentary on him? One of these streaming apps?
More than one, I think.
Did you watch any of them? I haven't.
Nah, man, I didn't need to. I lived it. I didn't need to watch it.
Yeah,
I didn't see the movie either. I don't feel like I need to.
Right.
I was there.
Thick of it.
Yeah, I was there.
I have a good question here before we bring in Kenny, and we got Frank Capp in the house. Looking forward to that. This is a legit question here. Slide 2, please, Mr. Spencer Israel. I threw this one up on the old Twitter yesterday, asking the folks if they believe that this rally over the last week is just a bear market rally. Is this bouncing stocks just a bear market rally? Seemed pretty consensus. Everybody agrees that it is.
What's that mean?
I mean, everybody thinks we're in a bear market. Whether that's true or not, I guess we'll see. But do you, Mr. Steve Strazza, agree that this is a bear market rally, what we've seen over the last week, or you think this got some legs?
I think both of those things could be true together, right? It could be a bear market rally and go far past where it is today. And that's the kind of question that it's just, why even try to answer it? We got to see where this thing goes. I think
it's a valid question.
It's a great question, but I don't know the answer. Anybody who tells you they know the answer, I think, is probably lying. There's a lot of mixed evidence. I think it certainly could be. We have our first series of lower highs and lower lows. So it's a new downtrend from a primary trend perspective. Does that mean a new bear market? We'll see. We're going to have to retest the lows and break them if that's the case. So look out, right? If that's kind of the case that you're looking for, then I think it gets a lot uglier from here. I don't even know if we're going to retest the lows right now. I think for now, we're going higher. We're going up.
Who's we? The S&P 500?
Risk assets. We're going up.
Risk assets, the path of least resistance for risk assets is higher, according to our hard mints correspondent here on the morning show, Mr. Steve Strazza. The risk is up, you believe, even though we're below that 5,600 level, below support. S&P's, NASDAQ, and Dow. You think we're gonna rip right through it like it ain't even there, huh? I'm
not saying that. I think we're going in that direction. We're going in that direction, though. We're going higher.
Yeah, maybe.
I consider myself a risk asset. Yeah, 5,600. Sure.
You are most definitely a risk asset. I'll tell you that much. But as we've discussed, and this is good advice for those of you at home, you could be on the asset side of the balance sheet, or you could be on the liability side of the balance sheet. Shout out Garland, Sean Harrington, James.
I'm pretty high beta.
Yeah, that's right. Not a lot of alpha, but certainly high beta. That's for sure. What do you say? We bring in Mr. Glick there, Spencer, on that note.
It's been a long time coming. They ain't cuffing my clock, they tuck it. Putting up numbers, 99 pounds, and I still kept it 100. Hola. Yeah.
Ooh, Kenny Glick, how are you, sir?
What's up? If you're buying Hinge stock, you're going to wake up to a 50% drawdown one morning because it's the leapfrog of our generation. So
you're not wrong. I agree with Kenny that Hims is on the naughty list. So we keep a naughty list around here where we don't sell naked puts on certain stocks. This is definitely on the naughty list.
It's exactly
right?
what happened to me on Leapfrog. Yeah, I was buying all these expensive toys for my kids. I owned like a couple of hundred shares for them, and I was like, "Damn, this thing's just going to the moon." So I started selling crazy amounts of out of the money puts. I woke up one day with 10,000 shares of that stock down 50%. So yeah, I don't like that stock at all. I think it's going to zero for real. There's something shady about that whole company. Forget about it. You want to buy something? Buy some insane asylums like Geo. You see this stock? GEO? I forgot about this bad boy.
Yeah,
It's
of
in the
course.
30s.
Yeah.
They're prisons and asylums. What a time to own some prisons
This
and
is one of
asylums.
those. This is one of those Trump stocks, right? This is the biggest winner post-election.
Oh, I don't know if it's a Trump stock or not.
No. I'm telling you that it is.
Buddy of mine just reached out to me and said, "I hope you still own it." I'm like, I don't even remember that one, but yeah, nice.
No,
nice move.
this was one of those names that, like, if Trump wins, he's going to put everybody in prison, and it's not just prisons. Like they do like deportation services and stuff like that too. So it's like a whole lot of Trump.
Well,
things
that was part of it. The other part was the Democrats wanted to get rid of for-profit prisons, which Geo is, and the Republicans didn't want to get rid of them, right? So it was a regulation thing.
Well, congrats to my buddy. He's in it. He's in at $9. Then I got another weird cryptic email. Be afraid this Monday, all hell's gonna break loose. Whoa. So I don't know what's happening on Monday, but I'm mildly excited for all hell to break loose. I think
I really enjoy a good loose hell breaking, every now and then. The world needs it.
If it hasn't broken loose yet, I don't know.
Dude, these nervous Nellies and all these Karens on Twitter can't handle a little bit of correction. They're like freaking out. It's like, bro, you think this is high volatility? You guys ain't seen nothing.
Yeah, I remember the China contagion. I was literally on a roller coaster trying to trade UVXY over the phone with my trader. And he's like, it just moved 30 points. And I'm on a roller coaster. Now he's like, now it's down 30 points. And I'm literally on a roller coaster with my kid at Hershey Park trying to trade this thing. And I'm like, all right, this is just too surreal. I'm gonna just don't trade. Just short it. I'll see you on Monday. Just crazy times.
Kenny, a NASDAQ down 1.7% today. And NVIDIA took a loss, is my understanding, from the fundamental folks out there. Can you correct me if I'm wrong? Are you looking for a faux show bro here to the upside on the Qs? Is that the move?
Well, I'm a little concerned because it looked like we had some stability. So now we're right smack dab in the middle. That, to me, 443.14 was so damn significant. I know it's very specific, but when we had that first monster squeeze, we got the 443.14. Then we hit it again about, I think, the day later, and that's where we sold off. Then we broke it through that other 12% move. So we're so close to 443. I think we're going down another 7 points from here, easy on the Qs. Maybe today. Again, I'm not stepping in right now. UVXY needs to roll over. You got a lot of overnight action now. So the game has changed a bit because you're seeing so much going on overnight. So if you look at UVXY, it trades 24/7 now. It was at 37 and change, and it already crashed, and now it's coming back. You don't want to see UVXY coming back if you're going to play the dip. So you want to see UVXY roll over. That basically gives you the all clear signal. But, again, if those two things collide, you get your faux show bro, UVXY is rolling over. That's where you usually strike. But you know what I've traded so far today? Hertz. I didn't even know the stock was still around. So Hertz was in play.
Rental car?
Some HTZ, some activist group joined in. You had a little faux show bro, but I just, had to sell out of it because this double top. It looked like we were on clear sailing, right, to go back to 470. Very disappointing right now. So I actually had to sell it at 436.35, kind of where I bought it. But it was coming off this little, I don't have the charts up, but little faux show bro at 420. Got paid a little bit, but I was really excited because they had an overhead supply. I've never seen numbers like this. Somebody threw a sell out there for looked like 1 million shares. And usually that's bullshit. And they started eating through it at 450. I thought we were good to go, and it turned out to be a real seller up there at 450. So, again, just something to do this morning. SBEV, again, a lot of these stocks in the pre-market don't even care what the market's doing. They're in their own world. So that's the one good thing about them. And if you guys have been trying to trade Bull, holy crap, that stock is insane. But you had 4 faux show bros and 3 blow-off tops in one day on Bull yesterday. Absolutely crazy.
Can you show it? Can you show that, please?
Yeah, well, I'm going to see if I can get it up for. Hold on a second. But speaking of getting up, Hims, what? Oh.
Are you familiar with the hard mints that Steve Strazza seems to be such an expert on?
I've never heard of the hard mints. I just know that those commercials sitting there. I remember when they would start running these commercials, and I was sitting there with my mother-in-law, and they made me feel so uncomfortable. I wanted to short the stock. But yeah, man, my charts are busted today. Yeah. So the idea that the bull yesterday, every time it would break lows, it would come right back, and you'd have like 5-point rally, and then it tacked on, and then it would have a blow off top, and then roll back over, and you'd get smashed. So very volatile stock. But if you're just trading around price, it was you got your 2 or 3 point moves on it. Very, very interesting stock to try to trade. But yeah, other than that, looking at the airlines, they're still holding their bid. So interesting. And the one stock that seems like some of the guys in the room, IBKR.
Yeah, Interactive.
Was gapped down, broke VWAP, just tested VWAP at 160, held it, and you're getting 3 points out of that one so far. So that's an interesting name. I have never traded Interactive Brokers.
You've never traded Interactive Brokers?
No, it's usually not that much volume on it. I don't really watch the stock. But the airlines are interesting to me. They're in a weird position. Their people are trying to pull back from travel, but the stocks have gotten hammered. And I don't know. Delta Airlines fought that, that number off. That looked good. But UAL, again, if it's under 70, I'm going to short it. And I'm only hanging out for about an hour and a half. I'm on my way to hang with the lambs. So
you're going to go hang out with lambs and you're not even going to eat them?
Nope, not eating the lambs.
What if you're like really hungry and they're pissing you off? Like you wouldn't just chop its head off and throw it on the grill?
What can a lamb do to piss you off?
I don't know, man. I can't have those kind of pets around. Like the types of pets that I would eat, I just can't have them around. Like pigs, I can't have pet pigs. Dude, I come home hungry one day, you're done, bro. Sorry.
All right. Kenny, we'll talk to you on Monday, all right?
All right, be careful out there. It's a strange environment right now.
All right, Kenny Glick, be careful with those lamb,
The lamb and the ayahuasca, whatever the hell he's doing over there. I don't even know. All right. We got a Frank Cappelleri in the house, JC. You want to bring him on?
Yes, please.
Yeah, all right.
Yo, Jay, we've been friends for a long time. Make the call.
I mean, this is pretty professional, guys.
Nice show you got going here.
Hey now, Frank.
Guys, what's going on? How are you?
Fantastic.
Congrats to both of you. Trend Labs, very excited to see. And Steve, congratulations. Finally, Chief Market Strategist, where you belong, man.
Thanks, Frank. That's awesome. Yeah. Exciting stuff here.
A long time coming, huh, Frank? He deserved it.
I think so. Yeah, a few years here and there. You had to make him
Frank remembers when I first started working with JC.
Oh yeah.
No, Frank, and I want to tell you, I really appreciate you. Steve tells me oftentimes behind the scenes, how much help you've been to him over the years and what a mentor you've been. So as much as it means, to him, I appreciate that as well very much.
Oh, of course. Listen, you gotta support each other and you gotta stick by the good guys, and we know who they are.
That's right.
I'm a lucky man with guys like you.
Frank, how was Monday? So the CMT Association had a little shindig down in New York City.
Oh, yeah.
I saw that you were there, you were pimping out, man. You were looking good up there on stage.
Missed you guys.
How was the event? Anything good?
Oh, it's fantastic. I think that they did a great job. It was great space, 3 presentations, a lot of networking. And this shows you don't need to have, a big symposium to get everyone together like that. And I think everyone appreciated it too. You had, some veterans of the industry. You had, Jay Woods had some of his, Fordham students there as well. So nice. I think it was really well done.
And then Frank, what was how many people were there, first of all?
It's pretty big, right?
Yeah, I can't. I would say at least 100 and 200 if I had to guess.
Wow.
Yeah, no, it was good. Saw Louise as well.
Louise was there too. Yeah, shout out Louise Yamada.
Outstanding. Always.
And Frank, what were the folks saying? I saw Mark Newton was up there talking. I saw yourself, Jay Woods, Tyler Wood, Katie Stockton. Right. Mm-hmm. What was the common theme? Are they thinking that this is a bear market rally, like everybody on the Twitter keeps telling me, or this thing got legs?
I think, well, it was interesting. Mark had talked about his process a bit and how he got to the point of getting more bullish now. And I think it was a really interesting discussion between him and Tom on how they can have different views and how they, talk about things, and to the point where, they can have their own opinions. And obviously the sweet spot when they're both on the right side of the market is when they obviously pay attention and tell their clients that. And then the discussion that KDJ and I had with Jess Mendham, who did a really good job, we're just identifying where we are in the current environment, which we can talk about now. But I think we're all recognizing the fact that we had a very good rally off of the low, and now staring at this kind of wall potential resistance around 5,500. And so got some charts to talk about that a little bit more today too.
So I'm going to hear from you, but overall, it was kind of split. Some people think it's a bear market rally. Some people think that this is the beginning. It was kind of split.
I would think so. I would say it's hopeful. And again, I wanted to look at a period of time here to talk about it. But what I was trying to say is, if you just look at this on a daily chart, it just seems extremely volatile, right? It looks like bear market type action, just the amount of massive swings that we have. So I really think that we have to sometimes zoom in to get a better sense. And that's why I look at short-term patterns more. And that was my message during that talk. And again, more we can talk about today too.
Can we look at this? You're comparing the 19 period, the 18 and early 19 period to the current circumstances. I'm seeing this a lot. Is it a Trump tariff thing that you're comparing it, or is it just a price thing?
Well, originally it was more about the volatility to begin the year, and also realizing that, again, the tariffs in 2018 with Trump, and now again in 2025. But what struck me more was what's happened over the last week and a half, when we had the huge rally up. Because as we know, looking at intraday data, down 20% from the high, 13-14% rally. And I vividly remember in 2018 during that crash, also 20% from the October high to the December low, massive rally on December 26th, which got us back to 2,600. And I was on a trading desk back then. I remember no one wanted to buy that at all. And it looked like a classic bear market setup, short setup, which I would say now looks like the same. And so as the market was continuing to go from that point, sense that maybe things were changing, only because looking at the more of the intraday charts showed us that there was a potential cup and handle pattern forming on the 60-minute chart, which I just mentioned. I think you have there as well. And so that's interesting to me now, because looking at the same type of formation now under construction over the last few weeks, and that's now, you can see it there, taking place underneath 5,500. So 5,500 on a daily chart looks impossible to go through from my perspective. Looking at it like this, it looks interesting. And again, you don't typically focus on the short term, but when you have the price ranges this severe, you can see that potential breakout would get us much, much higher if we get there. So that's why 5,500, especially over the near term, is important to potentially get through.
So if we're above 5,500, is that it for you? Do you think that we're like, how far are we going? Back to the old highs at that point? Is that big of a level?
It could be. Like, I don't want to rule out any scenario, and that's why I kind of lean on these patterns a lot, because on the way up, and then we talked about it before, from the low 2023 to the end of 2024, we had 11 straight successful bullish patterns, we're achieving our targets. Since that point, there's been 4 failed ones, right? And now you've had 3 straight successful bearish patterns. So we do need to see that script flipped again. And what you never see is both of them working
That's
together,
interesting, Frank.
right?
So the bullish patterns were consistently completing. Then the bullish patterns stopped completing, started failing. Then bearish patterns started printing. Is that usually what you say?
Yep, exactly. And I mentioned, as soon as we had that hold after hitting the last downside target right around 5,000, called it a jump ball. It is a jump ball because we know there's going to be a snapback at some point, which we've now got. And now we have to see, like, what can form from this perspective. Because if you look at this, if this continues kind of float around here, you can make the case that it could be just one massive bear flag, right? Don't know, but I'm trying to profile this, and it's going to morph into something different at some point. But right now, it's not just the S&P 500. So many areas look just like this right now, where that the key point is, after as you come down, fine, you're going to hold at some point. Snapback rally is one thing. My perspective, this is the most important part, the higher low potential, because that's the crux of any bullish foundation.
Right. Market's been resilient off of these lows. Today looked like it could have been ugly, and they're buying it up.
Frank, what do you make of the big day last Wednesday? So that was a week ago. Big reversal day, literally kissed those former cycle highs, the late 21, early 22 highs in the S&P, in the Dow, and the NASDAQ, in German DAX, a lot of stocks, a lot of sectors, the XLK, the XLC, so there's so many things just retesting that former resistance all at the same time. They all bounce from the exact same level. When you see something like that, is it like, well, yeah, former resistance turned into support, just like they taught us in technical analysis kindergarten? Or is there or do you think more about it? Like, how do you feel about what happened?
No, I think that's an important part. And they say technical analysis doesn't work, right, JC?
Thank God they say that, bro. To quote the great Charlie Munger, if people weren't wrong so often, we wouldn't be so rich. Charlie Munger, one of the great closet technicians. Shout out, Charlie Munger.
Oh, without a doubt. No, I think it's very important. And, as you guys, I'm sure, experienced this on the way down as things were gapping lower. I still talked to a lot of trading desks, and, I was asking them how it felt, and said it was okay, but not a lot of panic. So in fact, I mentioned this at the kickoff on Monday, was that the worst thing you can hear is that it's an orderly decline, right? So loading lower, no one panicking, so forth and so on. Obviously, that changed last Monday a bit. That was the first indication of things. So again, I think where that held, and I think even more important after the huge rally on Wednesday was, again, Thursday and Friday. We knew that there was going to be some sort of pullback, right? You don't go up 10% with the S&P 500 in one day and not expect some kind of pullback. Even a 5 or 6% pullback, which we got, produced what? The higher low, right? So I think that's an important. Both of those were very important to see, to stop the bleeding, and then have a potential from accumulation phase now that we're potentially in.
Frank, what are your cheat codes for times like this? Market's super volatile. Are you using, different indicators or tools or certain risk appetite ratios more through volatile times? Like, what are some of the things that you look at to help you?
Yeah, I think we have to just use different tools from the toolbox in this. And, I talk about bullish patterns, right? Not going to be able to see those on a daily basis. So one of the things, again, it's very good to zoom out, right? JC, I know you like that, right? To zoom out to understand. That's right. So that was important to see that those support levels, so that 2021 high, but now zooming in as well. So you have to look at all these things in its entirety. And I do think that too, even if this ends up being more of a drawn out bear market, right? You have other indicators that work, like the MACD, for instance, very simple one, but at the same time, how many MACD potential sell signals do we have over the last 2 years that didn't work out? That was telling. That was like a failed bearish pattern. But back in 2022, MACD buy and sell signals both worked, because that just called the bear market rallies and the retreats from that point. So if that starts working again, MACD on both sides, let's tell us we're in a bigger trading range. We're in, at the very least, at the worst, a longer bear market.
And you're using the daily MACD, daily 12.26.9.
Yes. That was what I was referring to.
Frank, I got to tell you something. I'm a huge fan of yours, but I'm a little disappointed in you today. You are an OG. You are old school, more so than me. And not once have you mentioned gold making new all-time highs. Not even once. Like, this is, you got to be coming in hard with this. The kids these days, they don't know about gold, structural uptrends, secular bull markets and precious metals. They don't know. They've never seen this before. Can you just school these kids and just tell them how these things roll? Spencer, if you could throw up slide 4 and 5 and let Frank do his thing. Frank, you've lived it. A lot of the traders and investors out there in the world, I mean, that was a long time ago, Frank. They don't know.
Oh, yeah. Well, I do remember when it was just all gold bugs, right? And that's to the point where you don't see that enough just yet. So that's a good point right now. I remember going to like a Rithol's conference. I think it was 2011, and it was like the only thing that anyone could talk about. And that's when it topped. But that was after years of rallying like this. So, I mean, you have to respect anything that's moving higher right now. And obviously, gold has been doing it. And I think it's even more interesting that it's doing it with Bitcoin not doing anything, because for a while, those two were both looked at as good hedges. Of course, things have changed from that
Can
point.
we just talk about that?
But I mean,
what a lie that is. Like, it's not a hedge against anything. For a long time, gold, if anything, was a hedge against profitability. You know, Bitcoin is essentially another technology industry group, as far as I'm concerned. You know, these like conspiracy theories about hedges, like, you know, the market has already proved all that to be completely wrong. They're two different things. Now, let me ask you this. Gold doing well. I'm being told that gold is sending a warning. That's what I'm told. It's sending a warning, JC. I'm like, oh yeah? Can you explain to the folks that during the, is it the aughts? Is that the 2000s? The aughts, they call it? Can you explain how gold did very well and stocks were in a bull market and gold still did even better than stocks?
Yeah, I mean, the bottom line is go where relative strength is, right? And just put blinders on the rest of it. Because we can even look at other areas that are doing better, you know, and some stocks, for instance, that are holding up in areas that have gotten killed, right? The same thing, not to turn away from gold, but it's the same time argument.
And then what about the miners? What do you make about the fact that the metal itself has done so well? And the companies, right? What do they call the gold miners? The liars standing next to a hole in the ground? You know, still not even at those prior cycle highs. Isn't that wild? Like, if I would have told you gold would be doing this, you know, let's say a couple of years ago a couple of years ago, I'd be telling you gold in 2025 is going to be making all-time highs, 3,300. You'd be saying that the gold miners are flying, right?
Right. And I think that's actually the opposite from what we saw in the last cycle. I remember talking to someone who was really involved with these and junior miners as well. And it's all they wanted to buy because they were just moving up on a much bigger clip than gold itself. But, you know, every market is different. But I do think that the gold miners I was talking about recently, I was saying that, you know, it wasn't worth buying those breakouts on a short-term basis because they eventually came back in and buying weakness was better. But now it's going up 7 days straight right now, up over 20% during that time frame. So sometimes, you know, there are some areas like this where it's a good time to buy no matter what it is in terms of expecting the uptrend, the long-term uptrend to continue. And I see that a huge breakout on a monthly basis as well, at least gets you to 63 or so.
Yeah, for sure. And then, so you brought a couple more charts with you. You brought the semiconductors, which getting hit this morning with NVIDIA. The fundamental folks are telling me NVIDIA lost money last quarter, apparently $5 billion in some, you know, some China thing, who knows. But from a price standpoint, does the market need semis to get their act together? Because semis didn't really have their act together in the 2000s, and the stock market did just fine. So how do you think about that?
Yeah, I think it's losing its luster overall. Of course, NVIDIA and other stocks have so much weight that the S&P 500 overall as a market cap weighted index is going to need that to go much higher. But I mean, SMH, as we know, topped out last July. It went sideways, and the S&P was able to move higher without it. So what I don't think can happen is SMH continues to go lower, right? And the S&P I don't think it can go higher without it. But does it need to lead? I don't think so. We have other areas that are doing fine, and we saw periods, of course, over the last year and a half where, you know, there's been good rotation into other areas. And if those areas, you know, taking this like few steps further, are going to be supported by the government, industrials, materials, so forth and so on, and there's an argument to be made that outperformance could start to happen and, you know, continue longer than we've seen in recent years. At least we'll see.
Do we need to see like the broad base? Like, you know how like we talk about the market cap weighted semis, and you're looking at like, what is it? The big three, you call it, Strazza? So Broadcom, NVIDIA, and Taiwan Semi, are those the big three? Right? And they're the ones that are leading the way here, and the other ones don't matter. Like, that's one school of thought. And the other school of thought is that you're looking to see some broad participation in semis. How do you think about those two different ways to approach the space?
I think you can see rotation both within the sector and outside of it. And I think you need both of those. And again, those, you know, the 5 to 7 names that are leading, they're just going to be a huge influence no matter what happens. The the hope again is that the market can sense the fact that other areas can be supportive of well, even though these don't need to lead. And I think that's going to be key over the next year at least.
I like this. So semiconductors don't need to. We don't need to see continued leadership from this risk on group, but we can't have them breaking down on an absolute basis. That would really call into question any sort of bull market thesis, broadly speaking. You agree?
Yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah.
And listen, the lower they go, the less of influence they have. But I think at that point too, we've seen what happens when, in December when they were leading and the rest of the market was like going lower at 14 straight days of negative breath. The market was able to withstand that to a bit. And the concern was when those lost their luster, the rest of the market wouldn't see a rotation into that. It would just completely roll over. So we saw both of those things happen at the beginning of the year. RSP, equal weight ETF started to outperform, but then as things started to roll over, of course, everything came down.
Verone was on here a few weeks ago, and he said something similar. He actually said that he would expect in the later stages of a bull market for them actually to give up their leadership. And it was a rotational theme, right? Other things start working, more values, more cyclicals, no more semiconductor leadership, and that's okay. So I think it's interesting, but I think that for now, these are tops on an absolute basis. You want to see stuff like SOX and SMH and even XSD back in the 200s.
Yeah. And again, I would look at the SMH. I'm not sure if I gave you the chart there, but they're also of a short-term basis, right? It also is forming a potential cup and handle pattern, but it's not quite as close to this former, recent high from a few weeks ago. And just that pattern itself is much wider, much more volatile. And obviously today's action is going to wreck that a bit as well. So, we'll see. Hopefully S&P still maintains that. NDX looks very similar to it. And I think, we'll get an idea over the next week and a half or so if these potential patterns work. And don't forget, we're getting earnings coming up, many of these names. And I think we'll get some resolution in terms of at least these short-term patterns soon.
What about software? Can we get away with software taking over that industry sort of leadership within the tech space? Do we need semis? Can software take that over? Or is it a scenario where like software is probably not going to do very well if semis are just getting destroyed? Like, how do you think about the two different, because don't they have very similar weightings in the S&P? Like 11, 12%, both of them, something like that?
Crypto.
I think
crypto's the new tech leadership, isn't it?
No, definitely not. There's not you can't put crypto and leadership in the same sentence right now.
Well, one thing we haven't had in a long time is Microsoft participating, right? It rallied here and there. It was in a trading range for quite some bit. But if you look at all those Mag 7s and compare it to the Mags ETF, Microsoft has done the worst of all of them. So really, it hasn't been a factor in this. Now, could that then regain some leadership quality and take over? I think it's ready to, if the market is going to stabilize a bit. And, in addition to that, there are some other areas, of course, stocks that have gotten killed that were leading. And remember, it wasn't too long ago that were identifying a huge breakout like that and they said this is going to go much, much higher. So it would be strange to see, again, one big area in technology go one way and one the other. However, have seen periods of rotation within the sector. And I think, if software obviously is an important one to see turn and hold for the market itself to, remain relatively buoyant.
Well, we talked about the major indexes. We talked about gold. Before we let you run, Frank, talk to me about like sector leadership, right? Here we are, mid-April 2025, just getting into, earnings season coming up, just kicking into high gear here for Q2. Like, how do you think about the rest of the year in terms of the types of sectors that you want to be in versus the types of sectors that you want to avoid?
Yeah, it's all about seeing how, again, sounds like a broken record, but how these patterns develop. I think there was a good bounce from a lot of that financials, and I think that's a very important one. And then we talked about that last time as well. I love to see the financials and industrials, reestablish some good bases. And I think if that's the case, again, it kind of rhymes with the theme of what potentially the economy could start to look like going forward. So without those two, and with technology not doing that well, then I think we could be in for a much more volatile ride, and especially to the downside.
What do you make of the defensive leadership? It's been 2 to 3 months now of steady outperformance, really, from the risk-off groups, Staples, low vol, Utes.
Yeah, I think that's similar theme to seeing gold obviously do well and having the VIX elevated. We didn't get to that as well, but you want to see the VIX obviously come back down and not really hover in 20s and 30s, because if that's the case, you're going to continue to see a lot of sponsorship for those safe haven type names.
You know what's coming
So
down?
you think the VIX needs to get back below 20?
Yeah, I mean, there's a chart there. I don't know if you guys have it, but of the VIX I have on a weekly basis, there it is with the 40-week moving average. All that was showing was going back to 2018 or so there, where the one of the times when we had a lot of volatility, not only did the VIX spike, but when it came back down in, it kind of held near that 40-week. It didn't go much lower, and that kind of kept risk in place. Now, the market itself, the S&P didn't necessarily have to go down from that point, but that just makes those ranges so wide that it's difficult to have some sense of confidence that bases are formed. Vice versa, you look at times, especially after the COVID and 2023-24, most of the time the VIX was below that 40-week moving average, and the spikes that we saw were temporary. So we're on this time now. We still need to see that change. And so long as the VIX continues to stay above that 40-week, or not too much time below it, I think risk remains elevated.
This is great. I love the way you're looking at this. Simple.
It's a lot of arrows.
Just another piece of the puzzle. Right.
Frank, you ever look at the bond market volatility index? That came off a good deal yesterday. We were talking about that. The MOVE index?
The MOVE, yeah, you're right. I should look at that more, honestly, but I think that's an important one to watch as well, considering what the yield has been doing.
Right now, yeah. You're a big tick guy, though.
I was when I was looking at that every day. Now I don't as much, but I do track it. Yeah, that kind of went a little berserk, as we'd imagine as well.
Frank, tell the folks where they can find you.
CappThesis.com, all over, and started to really get going with YouTube as well. Check out that. Just put out a new video this morning.
All those links are in the description. Check it out, guys. Thanks, Frank.
Thank you, Frank.
Thanks so much, guys.
All right.
Frank Cap in the house. Love it.
All right, let's bring out Mary. She got a few charts, business and pleasure related.
Some good ones.
Yeah, some good ones, and some pictures of a big fish. Apparently,
not that big.
She not.
Wow, hating. Strazza hating.
That's hilarious.
On Mary.
All right, Mary, where you at?
Mary in the house.
Good morning, gentlemen. How's it going? Missed you guys.
Mary's got some tan going.
Starting to fade already.
Did I see a Mercado Libre chart in the chat?
Sure did. Oh,
I like it how Strazza says Mercado Libre.
Mercado Libre.
Yeah,
like
that's right. Yeah, so I brought a couple of charts along. So last week I was on vacation, and so missed kind of a lot of the crazy that was happening in the market, and I'm not sad about it. But with that said, I've come back this week and looking at charts, look at holdings, some things that are kind of sticking out to me. JC, you mentioned this in the call. You've been talking about it frequently here on the morning show. And that is prior cycle highs. And so I have been running some scans, just, percentage off of 52-week highs. Those are some of the charts that I brought along. There's actually a lot of stuff that's set up actually really nicely, considering the moves that have been happening. So first one I want to start with is Uber.
Hold on, JC. Last week, Mary texted me. She goes, text me, let me know if anything happens. The market's moving 5% in any given direction every day, right? Text me if something happens today. Like, what the hell are you going to do? You're snorkeling.
That day I was with the dolphins. No joke. I was swimming with the dolphins. And finally, this is Friday, 3:30, I get a text from Steve. He's like, oh, yeah, by the way, market's up, like 10, 12%. Like, thanks. That's helpful, at 3:30 or 4 after the move.
I was about 2 hours late on that, but I did think
that's all right. That's all right. I was on vacation. So Uber, this is one that we've traded many, many times, very profitable over the last couple of years, and it's above prior cycle highs. So this one has my interest. I'm back in as of last week, as I was kind of buying the dip. I had an alert set, I think around that 62, 63, which were the prior cycle highs. And so I took a swing when that alert went off. And so I'm in. You're going to see a theme here with all of these. So next up is Melly, Mercado Libre.
Yes.
And this one, again, trading right there at prior cycle highs. So again, nice risk reward. That's kind of in an environment where we've got high volatility and, things direction really isn't quite clear. Is this just a bear market rally, or is this the next leg up? Who knows? So I like that I can define my risk. Right before I left for the trip, I was talking a lot about Amazon, which, these are basically the same companies, more or less, just Mercado Libre. What country is this from? I don't remember.
Argentina.
Argentina.
But Mary, I love what you're doing here, right? You have this theme of a polarity zone at key former highs. It's what I was saying earlier on the show today. If you want to take some shots, the levels are there. You could do it really responsibly. You could be out quick, right? You could define your risk really well and really set yourself up for some asymmetric risk reward setups. And that's exactly what you're doing here. There's
Precisely.
not a in these charts.
Yep. And so then next chart, CrowdStrike, another one that I am in. And, this one has been such a beast, such great relative strength. It hasn't hit oversold on the weekly. Lots of overbought, but never oversold. So I like the relative strength, and considering the give back that the market's been, doing here the last couple of weeks, this has been very strong. Still right there.
Crowd and Uber look similar on a relative basis. They're both working on like these massive 4 or 5 year ranges that they look ready to break out of versus the broader market. So I love that too.
Next up, John Deere. This one, very different chart, but still it's had that nice kind of consolidation range for the last several years, and we are now trading above that range. And so again, great risk reward. This, taking a step away from things like software and technology. So, kind of a bit of more of a diversification for this particular name.
I like that. You don't want to go with all mega cap growth, throw in the large cap or blue chip industrial. You know what else this one has? That's pretty great. A shake. Look at that shake.
Yeah. Good little shake and bake. Next up, MicroStrategy. Of course, we've talked about Bitcoin, or you guys have talked about Bitcoin not even coming back down to those prior cycle highs. So I've got a lot going on here, but we've been kind of hovering around that 2.618 extension from the base that was developed. And I think JC has even said, I think 320 is his line in the sand, which is that Fibonacci extension. I've got the VWAPs from the high in November and the low in August. So we've got a little pinch going on there. So for MicroStrategy, I've been long this one for a very long time and looking to add to the position again, should Bitcoin really get moving again. And so I think, depending on where we go from these VWAPs, we're gonna pick a direction here soon.
I love these charts, Mary. These are all sweet setups. Two things. To me in both of these, all of these. They all have relative strength and logical levels.
And that's the way that I like to trade, because I like to know where I'm going to be out, so that if I'm wrong, I'm wrong, and I can just move on. The last chart that I brought is a Tesla chart, which is not what we've been talking about, and that is not above prior cycle highs, obviously. But this one is really interesting to me because
look at that.
Sorry, JC would probably kill me for all the lines, and I couldn't figure out how to take the volume by price line off the.
I can't even look at it.
I like it.
Sorry, JC.
I like it.
I'm a visual person.
I like it.
Not a vertical situation here.
I
like it.
Okay.
Anyway, at any
I like
rate,
the map.
Well, as long as Spencer likes it.
Thank you.
I like that, we are trading right around where volume by price has kind of been hovering since the prior cycle's highs. And so when you anchor the VWAP from the lows, it's all right there at the level around, let's say, 220, 230. And so, even with the moves of the market the last couple of weeks, it's kind of just hung out here. And I think, again, there's a great opportunity that you could get long this one, know exactly where you're out. Because if we lose that volume shelf, then, and lose the VWAP, I'm going to be out. So that's kind of where I have been fishing. I've been looking also at the our freshly squeezed list in the All-Star Charts premium research, just because if we do start to get really bullish and squeezy, I'm going to be setting some alerts on some of those high short interest stocks that are going to get squeezed.
For sure.
Like something else. Yeah. So that's what I have for today. Lots going on, lots in my mind, because, my brain was on vacation and now it's full steam ahead.
How long does it take you to get back into the swing of things after you've been gone for a week?
It took me a solid day to get through kind of the backlog of emails. So apologies to people that were
No,
emailing
no,
last
that's
week,
not what I
but
meant. I meant like
oh,
market like swing of things. Like
I still feel like I mean, there's still a lot of things kind of on my checklist of things I want to look through because I just haven't had time yet.
because it's 2 days for every day you miss. That's my
Is
theory,
it?
right?
Oh my
I don't know.
goodness.
That's just how I feel.
I feel like probably, especially when come Friday, because it's market holiday, I'm going to have some time to really
Yeah,
kind of sift through some charts.
that's right.
Luckily, got onto the conference call that JC did earlier this week, which is always such a great grounding um,
Yeah.
experience for me, just because it kind of helps center. It kind of takes out all the noise. It's one of my favorite aspects of All Star Charts Premium. When
Yeah.
my life is super busy, JC comes in and tells me exactly where to look and not to panic and not to get so tied up in all of the noise and the headlines. And so great call on what was that Monday, JC?
I get a lot of out of it too, Mary. It's not just
Yeah.
it's not a charity around here.
And Steve's been so great with all the lives too. So that was helping me kind of stay engaged. So thank you, Steve. I mean, gosh, you guys kind of saved me the last couple of weeks.
I gotta tell you, guys, since Friday, I don't love the risk-off tone to this price action. Have you been monitoring these risk appetite ratios, JC? I mean, Staples really completing a primary trend reversal pattern, right? That would suggest more outperformance from Staples in the future. The same thing's going on with the low volatility index. Discretionary tech really not able to do much in terms of leadership since late last week. That's probably not great.
Dude, I thought we were risk on. I thought we were risk on. I'm so confused.
We are. The market's been rallying, Spencer, but it's not being supported by our risk
Settle
appetite
down.
indicators.
Settle down. Before we get into a little reset,
diversion.
I do want to mention that we had one of the most historic rallies in the history of the stock market. It's got to consolidate a little, let them dance, if you will. You're not wrong, Strazza, but understand what you're saying within the context of what happened just before that.
And I'm talking about 3 or 4 days.
That's right. So well-deserved consolidation, a move that happened in an hour that would normally take a year. You know, right?
If the current bounce has legs and is going to continue higher for the coming days and weeks, that little breakout in XLP SPY, though, does have to fail, right? Should eventually fail. Back in the box.
Yep.
I don't know.
I gotta
don't
go
know
to
anything
today.
anymore.
We're back with the magazine covers on recess today.
Oh boy,
Awesome.
Here we go.
Spencer, if you want to throw up slide 2, this one from the collection, this one Bitcoin Gov Coins.
What is this?
Oh wow.
This is the Economist magazine, right when Bitcoin was peaking here. Look at that. Digital currencies that will transform finance.
Okay,
Nope.
so what year was that? That's 21.
That is May of 21. And then I got to dig through my collection here, but I also have the next one here. So if you want to go to the next slide there, I'll whip this one out and I'll show you guys. This one came out just 2 months prior in March. So you see those 2 circles is when these magazines came out there. I have the Newsweek one too. I had to go back and I paid quite a bit of money for the Newsweek one. I think it cost me like $100.
What?
Great. What?
Wow.
You paid $100 for that?
Yeah, I mean that's a legendary cover. I mean, look at that Newsweek, bro. Yeah, I have it around here somewhere. I have it in the box there.
Oh
I think that's good value. I
thought that was pretty good too. You know,
Dude,
as someone who spends too much time on eBay, I can tell you that there is an eBay premium on all things crypto. Right? It's wild. You know, a magazine that would normally cost $7, $8 will cost you 50 or 100. You know, I have a pretty mean collection. I'm thinking that when we sign the lease for the new with a new office in New York, we'll put them up on the walls. You know, some of these covers, right?
Love that.
That'd be cool.
Because where else? I mean, my wife doesn't want that anywhere near my house. So
No, she doesn't.
Yeah, I get that. JC, I love this chart for another reason too, because whenever you put this out and publish this, we were actually in the process of getting more very, very good information magazine covers. Do you remember what was happening? This was the late fall of 2022.
No, this is spring 21. This is the first. This is the peak. We retested that and failed.
Steve is referring to FTX.
I'm looking at the current price on this chart, though. We were getting more magazine covers. This is like October, November 2022. We were getting the FTX covers and the crypto sinking into the ocean. You're right. See, he's like, shit, I got those.
Yeah, something.
So we got. Let's see what we got. We got the Wired magazine here. Caught by Crypto. This was what's the date here? This is May 22.
Well,
and then you got
if it's Wired, it's probably about the technology, not about like the investment.
You got Fortune magazine here.
Okay, whatever.
Crypto versus Wall Street. That's a good one.
That's the metaverse.
One of my favorites.
Picture of the metaverse.
This one down the rabbit hole in the Economist magazine. It's a rabbit looking for bitcoins in the right. I remember that one.
How
I got all kinds of stuff here. You guys don't even know.
Now?
This is crazy. You have so many.
Do you have?
How many magazines do I have?
Yeah.
I don't know, probably like 50 maybe.
Fuck.
Okay. That's cool.
Holy cow.
More?
Right.
I got a lot of them. I've been collecting this stuff since like, I don't know, like 08, probably during the financial crisis when I started I started keeping stuff.
I think it's a very cool hobby. I wouldn't have paid $100 for a magazine, but I think it's a very cool hobby. So I'm glad.
You have fucking Netflix.
And you wouldn't pay $10 for Netflix. So I mean,
that's also true. This is also true. Okay, Mary, what do you got for us?
Okay, so we've already talked about how I was on vacation last week, so I brought along a couple of vacation pictures. The first one, I caught my very first ocean fish. I have no idea what it was, but one of my middle child, his thing about vacation was he wanted to go fishing. And so it was so fantastic. We got a charter private. And so they took us fishing and we caught probably like a dozen fish in just like 45 minutes. I mean, it was just pulled one out of the water. He would take care of it. And then another one's coming out of the water. So this was mine. It is a big fish, Steve, for me.
You didn't ask the captain what you were catching?
I was going to say, isn't that too small? Don't you have to throw those back?
Everything back, but this guy, yeah, he was telling us what we were.
It does look like a jack. It's an Almaco jack, maybe.
Maybe, I don't know. He told us. I don't remember. I'm not a fish person, but he was a bugger to reel in. My goodness, it was hard. Then, so it was another picture that I brought. So I got together with Steve because we were in the Keys and went down to Key West, and so. The family got together with Steve and Rose, which was a lovely evening. I had my very first conch fritter. We had sushi and steak and drinks and all kinds of laughter. So that was a great evening to hang out with people that I love. And
that was a blast. We all wore pink.
Signature color of my family. Yeah.
Look at Rose. At least Rose tried. Strazza looks like he's gonna go play golf.
Out of the car and Steve's like, I dressed for you guys. I wore our color.
You need more flowers on your shirt, Strazza.
Anyway.
And last one that I brought. So I'm pretty sure that I had key lime pie every single day of my vacation. This one was by far the best. It was actually the last night. It was homemade. I don't know what's on top of the key lime pie meringue. Of some sort. Yeah, it was amazing. The food at the restaurant was meh. The atmosphere was great. It was an outdoor bar at a marina, but then this key lime pie came and it was like vacation over. Like it was just done.
So Mary Carey and Brett were here for a week, but they somehow managed to eat at every single tiki bar in the Florida Keys, I think. Every single one.
It's got to be outside. It's got to have sunshine. It's got to have drinks and key lime pie.
It's great. It was good seeing you guys. It was awesome.
It's good to see you too.
All right. Let's wrap it up here. Hot Corner Insider people, you'll have your weekly strategy session with Alfonso at 1 o'clock today. But other than that, we are done. So as a reminder, we're going live Friday with Strazza, a Break and Multiplier live event. The link is pinned to the top of the chat on YouTube. We'll send some emails out about it today. But other than that, we'll see you tomorrow. Tomorrow will be, of course, our last show of the week because of Good Friday. So thanks for watching. Thank you, Frank. Thank you, Kenny. Thank you, Mary. Check out all of the links to all of our free stuff in the description. The Hot Corner, the Strazza letter, Alfonso's daily letter he does every single day. All free, all in there. Sign up. You won't regret it. And we're done. Go make some money, all right?
Bye, guys.
Or go shop on eBay, whatever floats your boat. I don't know.
I can't take no loss. I don't even know what it